specialist for new home buyers. When you are new, you try harder. We go the extra mile to make it happen for you. We know everything a new home buyer needs to know. We will secure a home loan that suits your circumstances. This is a good time to buy your first home with grants, stamp duty, and build a discount savings of up to $100,000. Get your pre-approval now. Contact us on 0466 110 995 or visit blessmoney.com.au. Honey, let's get in touch with Bless Money.
Namaste and good evening. This is Ryan SHRESTHA and welcome to the very first episode of Ryan's Show. It's a show about things that matter. And today we have two really beautiful and intelligent guests, Kritika Purathogi and Amrita SHRESTHA. Basically, the show is about ordinary people, and it's a show about ordinary people. We're going to talk about extraordinary things, right? So today, the topic that we've chosen is the perceived value of PR. The reason why we've chosen this topic is because I do come across a lot of students, especially international students, who are looking forward to becoming a permanent resident of Australia, and they have to go through a lot of struggle to get to their destination. So today we have these two guests to discuss about this topic. We have chosen Kritika, especially because she's in that phase where she's struggling to get her PR, right? She has been in Australia for a few years. She's been an accounting student, but at the moment she is working in the field of marketing because that's what she enjoys. Whereas we have Amrita. She's been a bit lucky. She came to Australia as a PR.
No, in a work visa.
Work visa, right?
Yes.
Because she followed her husband, who was here on a work visa, and then eventually she got her PR recently, right? So she didn't have to go through all those hoops and struggle that Kritika is going through at the moment. So today we're gonna discuss, basically have a mild debate about whether you really need PR to be successful and happy in Australia, or it's something like kind of a bonus, that if you have PR, it's good. If not, it's okay. You can still have a quality life here, or you can have life outside of Australia if you have to return back home, right? So to move on with the program, I would like to first, find out a bit more about you guys from your own mouth. So I would like to ask Kritika a bit about herself. Like, Kritika, can you please share with us about, your journey to Australia and where you stand in terms of your professional career at the moment?
Sure. Thank you very much for having me on the show, firstly, Ryan, and thanks for calling me beautiful and intelligent. That makes me happy.
Yes.
Thank you. So I have been in Australia for a good 6 to 7 years, I think, and I came here as a student. I used to study accounting before, but then that really didn't much interest me. So luckily I had picked my sub-major to be marketing, and I knew that I would be good at doing that. So I used to work different jobs while I was working, and also I found out that I wasn't as interested in accounting while I was doing my degree, but somehow I navigated through what I really like, and I'm happy with what I do. I work as a marketing officer in a college called Skyline International College. I like my job, and I'm in a good stage right now in my life, in my professional and my personal life as well. So I'm happy with or without PR, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, sure. That's really great to know, and I think you are the kind of person, looking at your personality, like you like working with people, right? So probably that's why you chose to work in marketing instead of accounting, because you don't seem like a numbers person.
No, not at all. You wouldn't hire me for an accountant, trust me.
Right. And there's a saying in Chinese like, if you love your job, you will never work in your life.
Wow.
So it's good that you are in a job that you love. Right, sure. So Amrita, I know you are an accountant. I'm sure you're very good with numbers, right? So she's a creative person with marketing background, and that's what she's doing at the moment. Even though she doesn't have a PR, which is really great. Whereas you are a PR, you are an accountant, right? Can you please share with us like how did you get to this stage?
Ryan, I came here on September 2018, and after that I've been living here for 2 years, more than 2 years now. And at the beginning I thought getting a job here would be easier for me. 3 months I struggled, and I was just searching for the many vacancies and posting job applications and all, but it was difficult for me at that time as well, because I was in a temporary working visa.
Yeah.
So I struggled a lot. After that, I ended up doing a job in a consultancy as an admission officer. I was there working for more than like 1.5 years, but I still inside like I am an accountant. Back home I was an accountant, right?
Yes.
And I was searching a job. I came across you, and I found I got this job. So far so good. I'm happy with my job currently.
Yep.
And apart from that, my personal life is good. Yeah.
Sure. Okay, that's good. Yeah. So as a matter of coincidence, like she made me accidentally, she was coming for interview in a company next door to my office. And then she came to the wrong door. Like, she came into my office instead of going to the front door.
Meant to be.
And I told her, if you come this way, then you'll have to jump out of the window.
Oh yes. And I asked him if you are a Nepali, and
Yeah.
we had a bit of a chat at that time, and I shared my experience, and I was about to start my another job, but you came and there is opportunity for you in accounting role. Just tell me if you're interested. Yes.
And sure, you deserved it. You got the job because you had the skills, and you really did well in the interview, right? So I do come across so many people with similar background like yours. Like getting a professional job in Australia is very difficult. It's not what you know, it's who you know, as they say. If you don't have any connections, it's hard to get a job, right? But at the same time, a lot of employers, they even though they want to hire people who are international students, they don't want to risk their hiring, because international students don't have the full working rights, so they might have to go back home, isn't it? Yeah. So that's why it's hard for them to get a job. So for getting a job, like PR is so important, right? So you agree?
Well, I don't think so, Ryan.
Yeah.
Because I have always been working part-time while I was studying here, and so to say, I've worked in hospitality, I've worked in not-for-profit, and now I'm in education business. So I've worked in many industries. And I think it's the willingness of how seriously you take your job, and how you gain trust of your employer. I think that's what it matters. As long as you could do the job and they could rely on you, I don't think PR is as necessary. But having said that, if you have it, it's obviously an added advantage.
Yeah, sure. I hear a different story from a lot of candidates I work with, to be honest. I think you actually got the job that you wanted because you are a marketing person, because you're good at selling yourself, right? And probably you also that go-getter kind of person. So you went there and you got the job by yourself, right? But for a lot of the international students, because they lack communication skills, or they don't have good understanding of Australian work culture, it's a bit hard for them to get the job they want, right? So, and also they get rejections because they don't have PR, right? So that's why they can't actually progress their career. I think a lot of the students, they end up changing their career because they don't have a PR. A lot of students that I know, even if they're having a PR, they have to change their career because the job market is so competitive. Like for example, a lot of the Nepalese students these days, they study nursing because it's easy to get a job in nursing. Right? Mm-hmm. And some nurses, they do make really good money because nursing is a profession where you can do shift work. You can work at nights, weekends, and I know so many of my friends where the wives work as nurse and they make double the income of their husbands. So sometimes they even have like friction in their relationship. They have fights over things because the wives are quite smart and they're making more money because that hurts the male ego, right? So let's just assume, like in your case, both of you are PR and you were not finding job in your professional field. Would you change your career?
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't change my job, or not just job, even in my personal life. Well, I wouldn't change anything I'm interested at the cost of anything, Yeah. So, and no way for a visa or. But I think if you really believe in what you want, and if you're ready to put that effort, you would do good in any kind of field you choose. So I would never choose. I can't see myself being a nurse, for God's sake, working overnights, and
that work-life balance. And especially when you're settled, you have family. You want to spend more time with your children or husband on weekends.
Well, I could take care of my family members when they're sick. I can take care of my friends when they're sick, but I can't professionally. Well, it depends on people's own interests, and also especially for me, I always want to make a way where I can go back home and do something there. And if I study nursing here, I don't want to become a nurse in Nepal. You see, so I mean, no offense to amazing jobs they do, but having looked at the pay scale and everything, I wouldn't want to go back and become a nurse. So I want to study something which I could use anywhere and everywhere.
Actually, I was going to come to that point later on, but since you raised it, let's discuss about it right now. Personally speaking, myself, I've been in Australia for over 25 years. And now I've come to a stage where I feel like, yes, I want to give my loyalty to Australia because Australia has given so much to me. But at the same time, I also want to be close to my parents back home, So at the moment, I'm trying to set up businesses which can be run from anywhere in the world. You don't have to be in Australia, and especially with technology, it's possible these days, right? So I want to spend some time back in Nepal and some time here. So that's what I wanted to suggest everyone as well. Just because you have PR doesn't mean that your future is set. You stay in Australia forever and you'll be happy. You'll come to a stage like me, you'll feel like, okay, maybe I should spend a bit more time back home with my parents, right? And for me to do that, I should have a skill that I can use back in Nepal as well. And as you said, if you were a nurse, you couldn't just pack up and go back and get a job there as a nurse, because the difference between the nurse in Nepal and the nurse here, the income, potential is so different, right? And also the social status and everything. Nursing is the best job, but at the same time, in Nepal, you don't get paid that well like you do here, right? So in your case, with your profession in business, you could go back home and you could get a really good job, right? You could be like a marketing manager for a multinational, right? Because of your Australian experience and your communication skills, you could do that, right? Okay. So coming back to you, Amrita, for example, let's say you didn't get a job in accounting. And I'm sure there must be so many people who might have said to you, okay, why don't you go and study nursing? It will just take you 2 years and you can become a nurse and you can make really good money. Would you have taken that advice?
Not actually, Ryan. Before I came here, I was even suggested, why not, take a cookery course or barista course so that you can come here and you don't end up doing nothing, and it's very difficult to get the job here. I was told so, but I didn't, say I'm not going to do that. Let's say I'll try to find the job of my field, else I get some training or internship, and at the end I'll get the job. But when I came here, I tried for 3 months, and it was so difficult because everybody were either asking for, local experience, which I don't have, and also they were asking for, the permanent residency at that time as well. I got few rejections as well at that time, and after that, I couldn't get the job of my field, but I ended up doing, a job as a admission officer, which is quite related to the same accounting and management. So I took a chance. I didn't say that I'll wait for the accounting role and all, but I took it as a challenge, and that was a different field. But still I took up, and I would suggest that no one should just change their field just because of there's advantage or such. You need to have trust in yourself and just increase your skills to get job in that particular field that interests you. So that's what I did, and at that, though it took 2 years, I'd still got my dream role. So you should stick to your interest.
Exactly. You should never ever give up. You can get any job if you need income, right? But you should not lose sight of your dream job. You should you should always be dreaming, because dreaming is good. People who dream actually achieve big things, right? I mean, the normal jobs will give you those soft skills that you need for your dream job as well. Like, for example, you did a job in admin. An admin skill is useful for any job. In fact, even accounting, 40% is admin. So I think you did well. You didn't undersell yourself. But what I see in a lot of the students who are on student visa is that they get stuck in a profession because they need the money, right? In your case, you were lucky because you had a loving and supporting husband to support you, right? But for many students, that's not the case. They have to make money to pay for the tuition fees, for the living expenses, rent, and everything, right? But what happens is, they get a job in something like Coles or Woolies, and then usually they climb up the ladder and they become like supervisor or a grocery manager, something like that. And they get paid pretty well, actually. Some of them, they're already making like $70,000 per year on a student visa. Some of them they do. But I'm just talking about pro rata, because I don't want to mislead the audience by saying $70,000 is possible working part-time. Because they're only allowed to work part-time while they're studying, but full-time during holidays. Because of the good income they're getting, and because of the difficulty, they're not able to get a job because they don't have PR, they actually give up looking for the dream job, the professional job, right? So they just get stuck in that job, and then they end up getting married, they have children, house, and they can't take any risks anymore. So they're stuck in that job forever, So they'll have to basically write off their professional career. Okay? So I want to tell people that, that's not the way to go. You have to take risks. You have to come out of the comfort zone, and sometimes you have to take a step backward to go forward. Right? So if you're making $70,000, doesn't mean that you don't look for a job in your professional field. Sometimes you might have to take a pay cut and get a job in accounting for $50,000. Because once you get into accounting, then the sky is the limit. You could be making $100,000 in 5 years. Or you could be starting your accounting firm, right? You could be making even more in the near future, right?
Yes.
Okay. So again, the reason why these things happen in someone's career is because of their difficulty in getting a job, lack of PR, these things, right? So these days, the students have become quite desperate. To be honest, they're willing to lose their arm and a leg for a PR. I see so many students that are going to regional areas lately. I'm sure you must have heard of it as well. Do you think they're making a wise decision?
Well, see, I wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
But it depends on people's priorities, I guess, because everybody has their own priorities depending on what walk of life they come from and how they want to run their lives. But I don't think it's worth it, because this is basing your life decision on change of a policy is, I think, the most stupidest of decision you can make, because they keep playing around with immigrants, I can see, because they keep changing rules every 6 months, every 1 year, and how can you tell that by the time they qualify, they go to regional 2 years, and if they change the rule again, then they're going to have to come back to city or go to another regional or what, I don't know. So, I don't really think it's worth it. But again, like I said, it depends on whose priority is what, and if that serves their purpose, it's good for them. But I wouldn't personally do it.
Sure. And I agree with you. Sometimes I feel a little bit embarrassed to call myself Australian, because I'm an Australian citizen, because of these immigration policies that Australia has. They're basically like playing with migrants like football.
Exactly. And they keep changing the football net.
Goalposts.
Goalposts here to there, and everybody keeps running.
Some of these kids, in their early 20s, right? They've spent so much money. Their parents have so much high hopes on them. They come here, they study. And then, because everyone wants to get PR, they've been now asked to go to regional area. Maybe if you're an accountant, if you're a marketing person, you might get a job there, because there are a lot of businesses in regional area too. If you're a cook, Actually, I went to Port Macquarie last week for a short holiday, and I met a Nepali cook there. He moved there 8 years ago, and he already owns a restaurant and 2 service stations.
Wow.
Yeah, so there's a lot of opportunity in the regional area as well. I'm not saying there's no opportunity, but if you are, let's say, for example, a data scientist, who already spent $60,000 in your education, and you've been asked to move to, let's say, Wagga Wagga or some regional area, you're not going to get a job as a data scientist there, so you'll have to change your career, right? And just because Australia needs someone in the regional towns doesn't mean that you influence someone to change their career, right? Because that kid, that student's parents might have dreamed about dreamed another future for him, or he personally might have thought about some other plans for his future, to become a data analyst, or to get a job in a multinational, not go and work in a farm. Right? So along the line, I just want to ask you both: is it good for Australia to steal these skilled people from developing countries like Nepal? What do you think?
See, if it's a win-win situation, depending on what someone wants out of life, I think it's fair. Some people, if they were back in Nepal, I have seen so many people who would do nothing if they were back in Nepal. They would just stay home and, just ask pocket money with their parents and not work at all until they're 25. But then if they come here at 18, they're up and going and running and working. So it works for some people. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then also, I think another thing, the matter of fact that I think you need to be away from home for some time to spend some time with yourself, and when you're out of your comfort zone, when you're away in a different country, doesn't necessarily be Australia or wherever, you know what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, and if you can actually make good out of it, I think it's fair, if you improve as a person and you develop yourself, career-wise, personally, all the ways it's fair.
Yeah.
But then, it's if you're doing something here nicely, then it's okay. Otherwise, if you were to waste your time back there in Nepal anyway, so
Yeah. Sure.
it's not.
I mean, definitely, it's good for those who are like young students who are trying to learn more about life, and coming overseas and getting that experience is very good. But I'm talking more about people like your husband, who is already a professional back home. Nepal needs your husband because Nepal wants to be an IT hub as well, right? But Australia has lured him to come here. So that means Nepal has lost your husband, and they lost you as well, who has so much potential back home too, right? What do you think? Like, do you think this is do you want to tell Australia that yes, I have come here, but this is not really a good way of doing things? Like, Australia should grow its own skilled people.
I wouldn't blame Australia. It's upon the person's choice, because my husband had, he had an option to stay back home instead of coming here, but he saw that there are lots of opportunity here as compared to Nepal. Yeah, the system is better, the technological advancement is better here. He can learn much, new stuffs here. So that's why he made the choice. I wouldn't blame Australia for stealing the skilled migrants. They say that the people in Nepal who are skilled, they didn't say that their skills can grow in Nepal as compared to if they migrate to other places, not Australia, US. So they made the choice to come here, and maybe later they might utilize their skills and go back home, and utilize the same skill. There is one person who came back from US and established Himalayan Java, same like my husband can do as well. So it depends upon person. I wouldn't blame either Australia, but it's Nepal who actually losing the skilled migrant. The government should focus more on retaining the skilled migrants instead of by creating more opportunities as such, so that no one wish to go abroad and stay back home. And
that's an excellent point. Like, I didn't think about it. Like, I think it's Nepal's mistake as well that they couldn't retain them, right? So Amrita was making a very valid and important point that as a migrant you can come to Australia, you can get a job here, learn new skills, and at the same time make good money. And then you always, you have the option to go back home, right?
Yes.
When you're ready, right? And I think I do agree with that as well. So it's like, if Australia wants to take advantage of you, you can also take advantage of Australia. It's a win-win, like Kritika said, right? So I think let's move on to another topic now. We can't be all negative because we want to give the impression to the student that PR is not everything. Actually, PR does come with a lot of benefits.
yes,
Once you have PR, you get access to free Medicare, right? Like, I think nowhere in the world has a generous Medicare like in Australia. Here, if you're sick, you can go and get checked up, and the doctor will tell you to check almost everything, and it's free. Right? So you can detect the illness well in advance. So that means you'll have better health quality, right? And also, you get benefits like HECS for university students. You can get a loan to study here. So I would say, being a dad of 2 kids, Australia is the best place to raise your children because public school is free. If your kids go to public school, they can study for free till year 12. But usually they only send their kids to public school in the primary level, and then they might want to move them to private school for a better surrounding. But public schools are not bad as well. My kids went to public school in primary school, and I really appreciate the quality of education here. It's really good, right? And also, if you look at the facilities, like, there's so many parks, swimming pools, beautiful beaches, there's so many things in Australia which are actually for free, right? So when you bring in our parents to, for a visit, you can take them to so many places almost every day and not spend any money, because a lot of places are actually free, right? The only thing is the transportation, which is expensive. But if you take them on Sunday, like Sunday fun day, you can just pay $2 and you can go anywhere, right? So on Sundays you see all these ferries and everything packed, right? So there are certain benefits of having a PR, right? So I just want to come to you, Amrita, because you are PR, you're married now, you must be planning to grow your family, right? I'm sure, your in-laws, your mom and dad must be saying, when are you going to see our grandchildren? When are you going to tell us the good news? Is that the case?
After getting married in a woman's life, having a kids or having a house is certainly a part of a plan.
Yeah.
But that's not the entire plan, necessary to be, done right after getting married,
Yeah.
So for now, I've settled here and I've got a good job here. For some years, I want to, invest for my own growth, right? Like personal health or, intellectual growth.
Yeah.
I want to read books, I want to travel. So after that, yes, certainly having a baby is there in my list,
Yeah.
So every woman wants to be a mother,
Sure.
right? Like sooner or later. So yes, it's in my list,
Yeah.
but not for now.
Sure, I mean, there's always the right time for everything, isn't it? But it's just the society, they keep on banging on your head, like, where is the baby coming? Where is the baby coming? Right. But because you are PR, I'm sure, you won't have so much trouble raising a kid here. Your kid has a good future, right? But having said that, the childcare is quite expensive. But again, as a PR, you do get some benefits there as well. You just have to pay about 40%, I think. You get two different benefits. I don't remember what they're exactly called. So, even if you pay like $120 a day for your childcare, after you get the benefits, you only end up paying about $40 or $50. There are some really good benefits that comes with PR, Now, going back to international students again, right? We've heard in news lately that, there's quite a few students who have committed suicide because they lost hope. There's so many hoops they have to go through to get a PR. Like, for example, they come here to study in uni, right? And that takes them about 3 to 4 years, and maybe $60,000-$70,000. And then they are asked to do professional year program, which is actually another year. And it doesn't add much value to their skills. It's just another $10,000 or something. And then they have to do NATI to get extra points. NATI is like they have to have some second language skills, right? And they have to do IELTS, and they have to get like 8 in IELTS. And to get 8 in IELTS, there's students who try like 15, 20 times even, And then after doing all that and accumulating 90 points or so, and then again, all of a sudden there comes a new rule. Okay, so you need 110 points, So they just lost hope, right? I shouldn't be laughing about it. It's a serious matter. They become hopeless, and then they might even end up committing suicide, And I think so far this year, already about 4 or 5 students have committed suicide from Nepalese community. Right. So this is a very serious matter. I want to give them some advice through you guys, your experience, because you guys are quite happy where you are. Like how to not lost hope, how to be happy.
Well, I think it's a case-by-case situation anyway, and I think suicidal rates is not just in Australia. That happens in Nepal and India, everywhere, depending on what the social problem is where, right? But if you talk specifically about Australia, I think students should find a good work-life study balance. You know, they shouldn't just be confined into these boundaries and just stay with a group of people who have that set of mentality and just talk about this all the time. I think that influences as well. It's about finding happiness in small things. How about, you know, like you said, how about they should go to beaches, they should try different food, they should make new friends, they should go hiking. You know, there's a lot of things to do in Australia, you see. So I think they should take everything side by side and work everything out together, and not just be centered on you know, how to get a PR, how do I get 5 points, how do I get 10 points. That shouldn't be the only thing you're thinking of day and night and talking about. That accumulates to all of pressures like that. But they should just take it easy, and they should think that this is not the end of the world. Australia is just one country in many countries in the world, and people are very happy elsewhere as well. So I think the problem is that they're not looking out of what's around them. So they should look for more options, and that's the best way, I think. So
sure. I think that's a really good response. I agree with you completely. Like, you know, why worry about things that you can't control, right? So PR is not in your hand, you know. You shouldn't really be worrying about it. You should be enjoying your life as it is. You know, if you don't get PR, so what? You know, you can go to Malaysia, you can go to Singapore, you can go to Guangzhou, Shanghai, you know, Bangalore, Delhi, right? There's so many opportunities out there.
You know what I've been thinking, sorry to cut you in this one, but you know, after COVID and everything, so I see my partner, he works in IT and he's a business analyst. He works from home all the time, and he has the flexibility of working from anywhere in the world, you know, and still get the same pay in Australia. So I'm like, now what I want to do is I want to go towards digital marketing and you know, do something like that, so that even if there's a crisis or anything, I'm still covered and I can work from anywhere. So I think every international student should look for how to sustain themselves and make themselves skilled enough so that they can do that anywhere in the world. And you know, like you said, PR is not the end of the world. And I think that's what they should be thinking, and they'd be lesser suicidal, I think.
I mean, you get a qualification or skill that's more global and that's more flexible, as you said, you know. If there's no PR, if this PR is good, if there's no PR, then you should always have something to fall back into, right? I think that's really good advice too. But talking about this working remote thing, do you think it's actually both opportunity as well as threat for people living in Australia?
I think so, because it's taking people's jobs away.
So you know, like for example, you know, you're working from home in Australia. From, let's say, Asheville, you know, the same job can be done by someone who's living in Kathmandu as well. You know, so I'm just worried that maybe, you know, down the line the Australian employers might think, you know, why I pay like $70,000 to someone working from Asheville if I can get someone to work from like Manila and pay only $20,000. So there's a risk as well, right?
I think so, but I think that would be the case in very computerized kind of jobs, like clerical jobs and all that. But that's why you should be in a place where you need human interaction, you know, where people, maybe emotional intelligence, well, computers can't replace that. So maybe you should turn your careers towards those kind of things that machines can do.
Too technical. I think it's the most important skill that you need to have is the people skill. Right. If you're good at people skill, then you could do so many things, and that skill you can't you know, capture in a database.
Having said that, it should go hand in hand, but you've got to be on top of industry. You've got to know how other people do their jobs, and you should be able to, you know, match up. So I think technical and both the soft skills, human skills, that should go hand in hand.
Sure. So what's your advice?
Ryan, what I feel like, you know, in anything, not just the PR thing, one should not have a deeper expectation that, you know, hold on that this should happen and this should happen anyway. You know, when students come here and study and they make up, even their parents think that, oh, my child is going to settle in Australia. Not even their parents should have a deeper expectations that pressurize the kids, that okay, my parents, what will they think if I return back, So that's why deeper expectation is unhealthy. So when they initially come, they have to they set up the mind that okay, there may be two ways, either I may get, but your effort should be there to get a PR, because if your intention is to stay here in a longer run, then from the beginning you need to plan ahead, right? So but there is another part as well, that you may not get your PR. In that case also, your state of mind should be balanced, right? For that, a deeper expectation shouldn't be on anybody, not from the parent side, not from the self side, And also, after COVID has come, it has taught a lot of things to us, that nothing is permanent, Even if I didn't get PR, I may feel bad, I may have to return. So you will go back, or you will be doing something, There is always an opportunity. You need to seek yourself. So for those who feel depressed because there is a case that happened between the couples, that a wife killed his husband due to PR issues.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes, there happened because they didn't have that balance in their mind. For them, they have very deeper expectation, that they have invested so much of money, and time, effort, and they should get PR anyway. That led to a lot of stressful life they began to live, and as a result, a wife murdered, or happened to what happened, I didn't know exactly, but a husband got killed.
Okay.
Every individual that comes here, or even the residents, we shouldn't have a very deeper expectation. Okay, this should work according to like this. You should be mindful and think of the consequences ahead. Even if you feel like, okay, I'm very depressed, I'm very sad, you can seek advice of your friends. And there are lots of consultation, free consultation is provided here. You can seek advice from anywhere,
Yeah, sure.
So
there's a lot of organizations that provide free service. There's one called Beyond Blue, and I think when you're depressed, the best people that can help you is like your relatives and your family. For a depressed person, there's nothing more valuable than a source of support. Like, they just should know that there are happy days ahead of them,
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what is happening now, PR, no PR, but you'll be happy one day. And if you have that hope, I think you will not commit suicide.
Yes. Sometimes what happens, if you talk with your parents, they may feel more stressed because of my pain, because there is a lot of attachment with those who are very near to us, and you end up giving more pain to them. You may feel that, right? And if even pain adds up to you, oh, my parents are feeling so bad because of me, I'm useless, or such thinking comes in my mind. So in that case, you need to talk with your friends who can give very unattached suggestion. Like, you can get a free consultation who are unattached, and they can give a better solution, and you don't come across depression, anxiety, and suicide is no, it's not an option at all. There's a lot of life you can do with this beautiful life. Suicide is not an option at all. Exactly. So in that case, what I would suggest the student is not to have a very deeper expectation, and to keep in the mind that nothing is permanent. You still can get ahead of this. Even if no PR, you can apply somewhere else, or go back and do something, business or as such, or there is always an option, and suicide is not an option at all.
Sure. You're sounding a bit like Sadhguru. No attachment.
No attachment.
No expectations.
No expectations.
Yeah, exactly. Like in life, it's usually it's not good to have expectations from anyone.
No,
know,
we should
even
have an expectation, but unnecessary high expectation,
Yeah,
deep
the obsession
Yes.
is the thing,
Yeah.
though. You shouldn't
Yes.
be obsessed about anything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It
That
doesn't
stresses you to
Yes,
the
yes.
amount of, you know,
Yeah.
it's really serious.
Yeah.
Because
You need
sometimes
to
some people,
work-
like, you know, they expect too much from themselves.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I want to do this, I want to achieve this, you know, I want to make my parents happy, or I want to buy 2 houses or 3 houses, you know.
I know,
And
and you shouldn't be too hard to yourself
and,
either.
and if you don't achieve those expectations, and that's when you get depressed, right? But if you don't have expectation, and then you just keep working hard, and you achieve those things, then it's more fulfilling.
Exactly. And keeping yourself happy is anybody's first responsibility,
Yeah,
you know.
exactly. Yes.
So I think they should work on that first. As long as that base is covered, you could do anything you want.
Sure. We're almost done. Let's just talk about one other issue. Like, you know, Amrita, you have a PR. Now, your aim is to settle down in Australia permanently, you know. It may not be for a long time, but for at least for another decade or so, right?
Yes.
So you must be looking to buy a house, you know, because just getting PR is not the end of the story, you know. Once you get PR, actually, there's so much challenges start. Like, you know, you have to buy a house, you have to have kids, you know, you have to send them to good school, you know, and once you buy a house, like, it's such a big decision. You know, you are under mortgage for so many years, right? Because until you buy a house, you have income, you have a lot of disposable income. You can go have fun, go on holiday, everything. But once you buy a house, then a certain portion of your income goes to your mortgage, right? And then you have to cut down on all the other expenses. Like, what's your plan in terms of settling down in Australia?
Ryan, you might have known as well, the interest rate is going low, near to, you know, 1.99%.
Yes.
So this is a very right time for those who wants to buy house here.
Yeah.
So certainly, yes, we are seeing houses, you know, so that, you know, we are staying in a unit where we are still paying around, you know, 1,800 monthly.
Yeah.
Why not invest that in buying a house and paying a mortgage?
Yes.
Yes. So few couple of bucks, it's still an investment,
Yeah.
isn't it? So yeah, seeing the opportunity, I would feel that, you know, this is the right time to buy a house, and those who are seeking, that's what I'm just searching as well.
So if that's the case, you should get in touch with Bless Money.
Sure,
You know,
bless
that's
money.
our sponsor as well. So at the moment, it's really good time to buy a house if you're a first
Home buyer.
because there's quite a lot of incentives from the government. You get paid first home buy incentive of $10,000, and then you get first home grant of $25,000, and you don't have to pay the stamp duty, you know, and also you don't have to pay the mortgage insurance. So altogether, you might end up saving about $75,000, right? And also at the same time, because of the competition in the market, there are a lot of developers, they're actually discounting their properties a lot. Especially in your area, in Auburn, Granville, you know, Liverpool, they're building a lot of apartments. If you want to buy apartments, you can get really good deal these days. Some of the developers, what they're doing is they're actually helping you to buy the apartment. They're giving you like a rebate. So they give you $50,000 and you use it as a deposit to buy a house.
Okay.
Yes. So, you know, you don't need to have much money in your bank account. You don't need like 20% deposit as you used to, you know. Even if you have a $10,000, you can use the money from the government, you can use the money from the developer, and you could end up getting a property.
There's lots of money in the market.
Yeah.
Yeah, bank is also take my money.
Yeah,
because
everyone
the
is like,
interest
take
is-
my money, take
Yeah.
my money, buy a house.
so low interest. But having said that,
5 years, so it's good.
yes,
Good time to buy.
you know, you have to make the right decision. You know, you have to look at your circumstances. You know, it's a good time to buy when you're ready to buy, not because you have all these incentives.
Yeah,
So
because
you have
this is you're in for 30 years if you buy once,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So
Exactly, like, you know, and you want to buy in the area where you enjoy living as well, right? Okay, so yeah, if you're looking to buy a house, yeah, please do contact Bless Money.
Sure.
Having said this, I think a lot of the migrants actually rush into buying a house. You know, like I actually bought my house only recently, about 10 years ago.
That's not recent. That's not recent.
But like, you know, a lot of my friends, they bought a house right after they got married, right? So because they have this mortgage stress, they end up not having like children. I mean, maybe they have only one child, and they say like, you know, I can't afford the second one, or they can't take risks to start a business, you know, because they have to pay the mortgage, right? Just because owning a house gives you that false prestige, especially back home, because you can tell your parents, family back home, I bought a house, you know.
$1 million house.
Yeah, $1 million house, right? But it's not actually your house. You know, the house belongs to the bank, so you have to make a careful decision.
Yes.
That would be my advice to you. You know, if you really want to have a baby, have a baby first. You know, you can always buy a house 3-4 years down the line, right? And I think personally, I always encourage people to have at least 2 kids, because you know, I think it has to be fair to your child as well. Yeah, they must have a sibling, right? Because you know, it's just more fun when you have 2 kids at home instead of just having one.
Yes, because we know, because we are brought up with our siblings, right? So
yeah, me too. Like, you know, I really love my brother. You know, if I were just by myself, I think my life would be a little bit boring. Okay, so I think we can now come to the conclusion, right? I know it was supposed to be like a debate, but it seems like we agree with each other more than we debated, right? I think like it was such an intelligent conversation. You know, you guys really impressed me. Like, you know, with your comments, I think we already knew the conclusion anyway. So basically, just to you know, repeat that again, we can say that, you know, PR is not the ultimate thing. Like, it's not like must have. It's like, you know, it shouldn't be a need. It can only be a want, right? So for all the international students out there, you know, if they are worried that they might not get the PR because of change in migration rules, you know, think again. There might be other options. You know, look for opportunities outside of Australia. You know, or if you're thinking of going to regional area, try and go to area where you can continue your career, you know, because there are certain regional areas which are actually not country towns, they are cities, like for example Perth, Gold Coast, you know. You can go there, you can get a job there in accounting, IT, whatever, right? So I think you know, there's life outside of Australia and even within Australia. Don't make PR an issue. As Amrita said, you know, don't have a lot of expectation.
deep expectation. We should have an expectation, yes, but in a positive way, you know.
Sure.
If you want a PR, be serious about it. Get a good consultation. You know, you can visit migration agent and get a good consultation. But that doesn't, you know, mean that, you know, you should be, I have invested. So doing a wrong thing, you know, not investing in rightful thing, that leads to getting a PR, and having a deep expectation that I need to get anyway is not the, you know, it's not the right thing. Yes. If this is the way, you need to follow the way, right? Getting other way and having a deep expectation, I should reach to my goal, is not the way, you know, to get to your destination. That's what I think, Ryan.
And I also agree with what you've done. You know, you basically, you know, put your focus on the thing that you love. You know, even though you studied accounting, you ended up working in marketing, and you love the job and you really want to continue in that job, right? So you know, just going to a uni, studying something doesn't mean that you have to work in that area. You know, as I say to everyone, all the students, that, you know, at uni you just learn to learn, you know, because I think by studying accounting, probably you must have learned a lot of analytical skills, right? which you can also use in marketing, aren't you?
Everything's. I think, especially if you're in management, everything's sort of interconnected. I feel like.
Yes. People's skill, organizational skills, a lot of things are interchangeable, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, do you guys want to say anything in conclusion?
Well, I would like to say you should never make focus of your life or visa like a PR or anything. Just keep making yourself happy, and as long as you're happy, as long as you're working for the good, you'll ultimately get what you want anyway. So
sure,
the positive approach is the right approach.
Yeah, thank you. And you on with that?
What I want to say at last is that, influencing you need to give the highest authority to yourself. Make your own decision, wise decision, get a suggestion from the right person, and make up a decision just by saying that my other friends are doing this and that. Don't just end up saying that this is what I wanted but I'm not getting. So yes, put highest authority to yourself. Analyze your weaknesses. If you have a point to achieve or goal to achieve, just focus on that goal and don't stress much, right? And just focus on your goal, and also put at one side of your head that you may not achieve, but still it's okay. Your state of mind should be okay, Yeah, your state of mind should be balanced, whatever the outcome may be, So in order to be successful, what success actually means is, your balance of mind. Even if you be successful in that or not successful, it may be a permanent residency, it may be your job, your startup job, anything, your state of mind should be balanced. Or maybe even getting a job, I even lost my job due to COVID. But yes, I feel bad, but I again regain my status mind. This is not the end of the world. This is not permanent. I'll be getting.
You always believe like whatever happens for good. The God has a plan for you.
Positive approach. If there is a life, there is a hope. Yeah, you can always regain your strength and do something and make yourself happy. Your life is beautiful. There's just one life. Just live happily instead of stressing yourself more.
Yeah. So thank you very much to you both. So many valuable advices for free. What more can you expect? I think that's the end of our program today. And thank you very much for your audience. We look forward to seeing you again with a different important topic in some time. Thank you very much.